guys, I'm so glad that you're here for this last group study of I Love You More in my community. And I left this one for last because I think it's really important, Megan, that we learn how to love Jesus more in our community. It's such a struggle, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Guys, this is Megan Hibbard.
Hi.
She's amazing. I've known her since she was in high school, which sounds really crazy. Megan used to be a camper at our Crossroads camps, and then she worked in our discipleship program, and then she has just been around forever. She's married to Jordan Hibbard, and they have an awesome dog named Barkley. What's y'all's
He's the
dog?
sweetest. He is half Old English sheepdog and half poodle, so he's a sheepadoodle, but he is really cute.
And he's huge.
He's like 70 pounds, so
Yeah.
he's just a giant teddy bear. He likes to sit in your lap.
So Megan and Jordan are amazing. They like to go scuba diving and to beaches. And what are some other things you like to do, Megan?
We love to travel. That's probably the biggest thing. And we also love to eat international food. So any kind of international food you can find, we will try it. We love it. It helps that my husband grew up in Asia, so we love Asian food especially. Yeah, scuba diving is a new hobby for me, so it's a little terrifying. I'm still getting good at it, but it's a lot of fun.
Megan is very adventurous, and so is Jordan, and I love that part of their marriage. They're always off doing something fun. And so I'm super excited for her to be with us today, and you're going to get to hear from her in just a second, but I wanted to basically talk about what today's group study is about. We're talking about loving Jesus more in our community. And community has been a buzzword in our culture for a little while, and especially in Christian circles. And I think that sometimes it can feel negative to say community, 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 because sometimes we feel left out of that group. It can feel more like a Christian clique than actual deep friendships. And so I want to actually approach community today and talk about the realities of how hard it is sometimes and how hard we have to fight for it, but the goodness that comes out of it and why God even put it in our lives. So during the group study this week, you guys actually got to hear from Megan on one of the days. She talked about loving Jesus more in our marriages, and it was talking about how we bring our friends along with us on every part of life and every stage of life, and that can be challenging. So we have the honor of hearing from Megan today, and not only is she a writer in the workbook, but she's now speaking to you guys in this video series. So Megan, I just wanted to open up today, and I would love for you to share with us what your biggest takeaway is from this chapter. I know that's hard. It's like the biggest takeaway, the most everything. We always use superlatives, right? But what are some just ideas that you read and they just sunk into your heart?
Yeah, so I was super excited about this chapter. I had looked at all of the ones when you were kind of asking which one I felt really hit hard with me, and I looked at community and I was like, that's it. That's the one that I want. I'm super passionate about it, and it's a great topic. But I feel like as I started to read and reread this chapter and circle and underline and write things in the margin, I was like, oh my goodness, Lord, you are still working on this topic with me. And I think that's why it's such a great topic. It's because I don't feel like we necessarily arrive at this point where we're like, okay, I got community down. It's a constant thing that we're working on, which is so cool. But I feel like as I read this, the Lord really wrecked me in the best way possible, and showed me areas of my life where I need to work still, and then showed me areas of my life where He's brought me through, which is really, really cool. And so I feel like for me, I have found that I'm a taker. I don't want to admit it. It's hard to admit, but I'm a taker, and I want to consider myself a giver, but I so quickly and easily resort back to that taker. I am constantly going back to, am I going to get acknowledged for this? Am I going to get acknowledged for giving in this friendship? Are they even going to notice? And then also, am I going to see the fruits of what I'm doing? I'm putting so much of me into this. Am I going to see any of that back? And so I feel like that's so hard, and my sin self in those moments puts up a wall and says, okay, well, you need to distance yourself. You need to make sure you're protected. You need to make sure that you don't get hurt again. Because what if people learn who you are and they don't like you? Or even worse, what if they find out who you are and then they choose somebody else?
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's happened, a couple of times, and it hurts and it leaves scars. And it makes you more cautious when you go into other friendships. And it, almost makes it harder sometimes. So you have to be kind of mindful of that. And I feel like, the thing that I keep going back to in this is friendships are hard.
Yeah.
But they are so worth it. And I feel like the Lord has really been, working on this for the last 8 years of my life. I did the discipleship program 8 years ago, which is crazy to think about those 8 years ago. But I feel like from that moment on, the word community has been surrounding my life, and I try to really look through the lens of that as I go throughout life of I've seen what it's like to live without community. I've seen how hard it is to not have anybody to communicate with, to not have anybody who truly knows you,
Right.
to not have anybody who is there for you. But I've also seen the incredible benefits of it and how good it is, and how it's so worth fighting for. And so I think for me that is kind of what I keep going back to. In one verse that I found, it was Romans 12:4-5, and I'll read that real quick because I really feel like it helps frame this too.
Yeah.
But it says, "For as each of us has one body with many members, and those members do not have all the same function, so in Christ, though many form one body, and each member belongs to all the others." And so I think that's why sometimes friendship gets so hard, is because we have to remember we're different members. We're different. We have different functions. We have different callings. We have different gifts, but we're all one body, and we all are striving for the same direction. Yeah. A lot of times I use the word, I feel like I'm on an island. And so in those moments when you feel like you're on an island, remembering, hey, we're all in this together. We're all one body, and we're all striving for the same thing.
Yeah. I know one of the principles that Clayton and I learned in marriage was we wanted to strive to understand one another and not to be understood.
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's a hard transition to say, I'm not seeking right now for you to understand me, but I'm going to learn to understand you. And I feel like when I do that, we're going to have a better relationship. And that's putting yourself on the shelf. That's all the things that we talked about in this chapter. And so it's hard to do that in a friendship. But I feel like when you can transition that in a friendship too, especially because I think what you're saying is we all are different parts of the body. And so we have different gifts. Some of us are extroverts, some of us are introverts. And so community won't look the same for every person.
Right.
And some of us our careers make things different. How many kids makes things different, whether we are married or not, makes a difference. And so community looks different in different stages in life. And that's why in this workbook, I wanted to talk about the single person, the married, single and dating, I guess, married, motherhood, dating and engagement. All of those stages, community can look different in all of them, and with different personalities. And here's what's crazy. When you have a family, your family, all the family members have different personalities, and you engage with each one of those people different. So I think seeking to understand more than be understood is huge. And I don't even think that I put that in here, but that's in our marriage book.
Read that too.
That's a marriage. But all that to say, you're right. Like, it's so hard to not be selfish. And I think the reason that we're takers is because we're broken.
Yeah.
And that's really just it. It's hard to have good friendships because in our inside and our inner core, we were broken when we fell. And so we're seeking that fellowship with the Lord that's our real brokenness, is that we are broken from fellowship with Him. And I think we're trying to find it.
Yeah.
Find that one thing that's broken in other people, which we can find parts of it.
Yeah.
But we won't really be complete, right, until we're fixed with Him. But we can find parts of that in other people and love them, and they can love us back, Yeah,
and I think ultimately, like, if I'm searching for, that fullness that the brokenness has caused me to be without, if I'm searching for that in somebody else or in a friendship, I'm always going to be disappointed and I'm always going to be let down because they weren't meant to fill that. And I think
the Lord
we
is.
have to remember that.
But I think he can use other people to give us parts of that in ways that we don't think that he can.
Yeah. It's surprising ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Surprising ways. Like, I know Jordan's done that for you some, your husband, Jordan, just trying to say who he is. And Clayton's done that for me some. And you'll meet friends that see you in a way that you didn't expect them to, and they can speak into your life. And I think that's how the Lord, that's why community is so important.
And it's so cool when that happens, because you don't necessarily expect it, and it happens. And you're like, okay, Lord, like, thank you for that. Like, thank you for putting them in my life. Thank you for letting them see this that I couldn't see in me, or for speaking that into me. It's almost like a little piece of him comes down, and it's like, all right, I know you need to hear this, so here you go. Let me provide a person for you.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
You're not hearing it from me, but I'm going to tell you this bit. So what would you say in this chapter was most prominent about the character of God that you soaked up?
Yep. For me, the thing that I keep going back to, as I read this, as I reread it, as I circled, as I underlined, I wish you guys could see it because it's crazy. It's so good. But it's that the Lord wants good gifts for his children. He desires us to have this community. He's not, sometimes you almost feel like he's like dangling in front of you and saying like, nope, but like that's not his heart at all, or not his character. He's a good God who wants good things for his children, and this is a good gift. Community and friendship, and having someone that you can share life with, and having someone who you can say, hey, I'm having a bad day, let me tell you why. And that they're able to listen, and then vice versa. When they're having a bad day, you're there for them, and you know that they're there for you. And how good that is. And I feel like for me, going back to like giving, which one, do I want to be known for? The thing that I was reminded of getting is it doesn't last. Like it's not something that sustains. You constantly are looking for something else. You're constantly saying, I need to get. And when you're giving, it fills you up, and it really feels like, I don't know, like it's in a way that you almost can't explain sometimes, like when you leave someone's house and you walked away, and like I was there for them. I listened to them, or I like encouraged them, or I was there for them, or X, Y, or Z, name it, like how incredible that feels. And so I feel like that, is one of the big takeaways for me about the character of God. And I think the other like really big takeaway was that he knows me. He knows me better than anybody else. And I think I have to remind myself of that, because in the moments I'm thinking like, Lord, I think I really do want that friend that you described in the book. Like, I want the friend that's like always going to agree with me, never going to disagree, likes what I like, doesn't have easier. Confrontation. Yeah. Like, who doesn't? Like, everyone hates confrontation. And so I think that I want that. But then the Lord reminds me, I know you. Like, I know you to the deepest core of who you are. And I know you don't need another you walking around. Like, I'm enough. You know what I mean? And so I feel like I have to constantly remind myself, and that this chapter for me reminded me that the Lord knows me. He knows what I need. And he's a good God to supply that for me. Yeah. And I feel like, it's almost kind of parallel with salvation of the Lord provides us with this great gift of the gospel. But if he were to just say, like, you're automatically saved, that wouldn't mean as much to us. We wouldn't necessarily have the ownership of it, of saying, and where now we have to say it's a free gift, and all we have to do is accept it. And the same with friendships. If I automatically assumed that me and you were going to have this deep friendship, like, it wouldn't mean as much to me. But the fact that I have to, step in, take a step, and we have to pursue each other, and we have to work at it. Yeah. Like, how much more does that mean to us? Right.
As weird as it sounds, I think that sometimes we as humans, we bond through trials.
Yeah. You really do.
Yeah. You bond with someone through hard things that you've been through. I mean, good times are great too, but there's this depth of going through something hard together that you don't have if you're like, oh yeah, we went on vacation and it was fun. Yeah. Those are great. You need those in friendships. But then when you go through something hard together, It's like you conquered it together, or you just understood. I don't know how to explain it.
You like continue. I think in the good moments and the bad moments, you always go back to those moments of that person was there for me.
Yes.
And I know they're there for me.
Like,
I know they're there
remember
for
when we
vacation.
moved to Anderson, we left everything.
And it was hard.
I know. You moved down here, didn't have a job. We're hoping that you were going to get married. There were no guarantees of anything, but you did it. And now we're here.
Crazy.
I know. So we bond through hard times and struggles.
Yeah.
And it's so good. What would you say that you learned about yourself?
The question that I'm reminded of, and that I go back to, and that I ask myself about me is, am I willing to put in the work? So you mentioned we moved to Anderson. So we moved to Anderson. We knew each other. We knew like the group of people that we moved with. But other than that, we didn't know anybody.
Nobody. Yeah.
I didn't have a job. I barely knew where I was going to be living. Figured that out, thankfully. But it was a really hard season, and I feel like in that season I cried out to the Lord and begged him almost for this friendship. I was like, Lord, I see these deep friendships around me, and I want them.
Yeah.
I want that, and I feel like you've given it to everybody else but me. And I was almost like angry because it was kind of like, why would you give me this desire in my heart? Why would you put this longing in my heart for this type of community that I know exists, that I know is so good, and yet it almost feels like just arm's reach away. And I feel like in that moment and in that season of how hard it was, the Lord really showed me, I'm not withholding this from you, but you're just not willing to go. You're not willing to pursue these people. You want everyone to come to you. You want everyone to pursue you. You want everybody to, it ultimately was about me.
Yeah.
It wasn't about that other person. And so I feel like for me, I had to pray and ask the Lord to change my heart.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want it to be about me, but it had been. And because of that, I was the only one that was suffering. Like,
you felt left out.
Yeah, like other people around me they weren't hurting because I was doing it to myself, you know what I mean? Like I was keeping myself from having these great deep friendships, and this being a part of this great community.
Yeah.
And so I really had to take a step out and say like, okay, Lord, like you're right. Like forgive me for making it all about me, for being selfish, for desiring this but not being willing to take a step and do it.
Yeah. And I think another thing to remember is sometimes when we look at everyone around us, it seems like there's all this community that's so great.
Yeah.
Because let's get real. You look on social media and everybody's
worst.
hanging out and smiling
Yes.
and they've gone here and they've gone there or they've been together. And really, we post the big events in our life, right? So it's not like these things are happening all the times in everybody's lives. And maybe they're not best friends. They're just smiling in a picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying sometimes that happens.
It's true.
But I think we have to be careful at assuming that everyone around us is super close and their relationships are going really well and we're the only ones who don't have any friends or are struggling to make our friendships work. Because that's not true.
Yeah.
But it's still good to seek them out. But we can't just assume everybody else has something that we don't. That if we see someone have a relationship that's deep, they've worked at it probably for years, and they've made time for it. And that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's true. And it's so funny because I'm 30, which just turned 30, which is so weird to say. But social media still gets me.
Yeah.
I still can scroll through with the best of them and I see a photo and it automatically can change my mood. It can automatically change, the way that I perceive things. And so I have to be careful and I have to catch myself of saying like, they're just posting their like highlight reel and it's okay. Like, or it's okay that they're together. Like
celebrate it. Like learning to celebrate other people being together and not resent it because you're not
there or
huge.
Yeah. And thinking like, okay, well, I hung out with him last week and they're with this person this week. And like, that's okay. I hung out with him last week. Or, like, I feel like I don't know, I feel like social media can be great, but it can also be terrible. And I feel like one of the best things for me was to say, I'm going to take a week break. I just want to prove to myself that I can do it. And take a break and say, you know what, my identity isn't in social media. It's not in the pictures that I post or, you know, how I edit it or the comments that I get or the likes that I get. It's that's not my community. My community is people around me who are living life with me every day, who know the good, the bad, and the ugly, who are, you know, walking through it with me.
So we're talking a little bit about this already, but how can we apply this chapter to the world around us, whether we're talking about friends or family or even the lost? You know, I think that the lost want community too, and they want to know what that really looks like. So how would you say that we would apply that? How would you apply that to the world around you?
I feel like ultimately you just have to start with one step. So in the moments when the walls are coming up, when you want to push people away, when you're saying like, I don't know if I can do it, text someone, say, hey, can we go to lunch? Do you want to come over, watch a movie? Compliment them, encourage them. Just one step is all it takes, and you'll be so surprised at how the Lord can redeem that and how the Lord can say, like, this was a bad situation going in, you took a step and I'm going to reward you for it. So I feel like that is one thing. I feel like in page 183, so I'm going to read this quote if I find it. You said, one of the human heart's greatest needs is to feel loved, valued, and accepted, so putting ourselves on the shelf feels like a risk. And it really does feel like a risk, but I feel like, you know, a practical thing is we all want to feel loved and valued and accepted. And so we want to feel that. So why would we assume that other people don't want to feel that too? You know?
And the Lord does that for us.
Yeah.
He left heaven to give us, to make us feel valued enough to be saved, to have a relationship with Him. So.
And I feel like one thing, I have to give my husband credit for this because he technically said it, not me. But I wish I could take credit for it because it's so good. But he said, I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong, but a simple invitation has the potential to unlock a lifelong friendship. And I feel like that is so true. A simple invitation to lunch can become a second invitation, can become, you know, you're, okay, like we're friends, like I'm sharing struggles with them. And then instantly you're 15 years down the road. And you're saying, oh my goodness, that one moment where I invited them or they invited me, it changed everything. And how thankful you are for that. So I feel like that is so good. So cool.
Jordan's wisdom. So good. So thank you, Jordan, if you're watching this, because that was a great insight for sure. Well, Megan, I want to thank you for helping us out today. I know that you guys got some great stuff out of what Megan had to share today, and I hope that it gives you some courage to be able to share with one another in this last group study that you have. And one thing I want to leave you with is sometimes it can be challenging to make friends with people, but this is where I've come. Sometimes if I feel like I'm not making good friendships, I realize that there are certain people I'm trying to be friends with so hard that I might be overlooking a really good friend right next to me. So especially in high school, I think you had these certain people you want to be friends with because for whatever reason, they just seem like the friend to have, right? But I think that sometimes the friends that are the best are the ones just sitting right beside you doing life with you that maybe you overlook because you're looking for, you want this other friendship.
That's good.
And so I think that sometimes we idolize a friendship with someone that's not working out instead of just saying, you know what, I may not be best friends with her and that's okay, but look, this girl right here has been asking to hang out, is interested in me, cares about me, keeps pursuing me. Why am I not pursuing that friendship, you know? And so maybe that's the key to you finding community is looking for the friend that you didn't expect. Maybe that's something that you need to take away today. So I want to thank you so much for being part of this group study. This is the last day, and we have conquered it. Let's do high five, right?
That's incredible.
You guys are awesome. Thanks for walking through this with me. If you have any comments or you want to share anything about this chapter on community, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on sharieking.com. And I hope that you've enjoyed getting to know one another through this group study. Thanks so much for being a part.